Okay, so what do we find? So in a lot of ways, sort of one of the big distinctions I want to make for you guys is the difference between transactional mobilizing and transformational organizing, right? That what I want to do is sort of just explain what that difference is and then argue that the extent to which you engage both of those kinds of action in your movement make a big difference in the extent to which you're able to build power, right? So what's the difference between mobilizing and organizing? So this is probably a term that a lot of you are familiar with, but let me unpack it by just sort of telling you a story. The picture on the screen is a picture of a guy named Alex Waters. Okay, Alex was from Colorado, I think, originally in the United States, and he went to college when he was 18 thinking that he wanted to be a professional golfer, right? So he wanted to be a professional athlete. So he goes off to college in Iowa somewhere, and one weekend one of his friends says, hey, can you come and join us for a weekend at my parents' lake house? And he thinks that's great, right? When you're a freshman in college, like what could be better? So he goes off to this lake house with his friends, and one night he's standing at the end of the dock. He's got a cap on, right? It's a little bit windy, and the wind comes by and it blows the cap off his head and it lands in the water, right? And so Alex thinks, shoot, right? Like I really like that cap, right? And there it is, like floating away from me in the water. What should I do? So Alex looks at the water and he says, well, you know what? I'm just going to dive in and get it, okay? And he thinks the water's about, all of a sudden I'm realizing I don't know how to do this in metric, okay? So he thinks it's about 18 inches deep, right? Like 1.5 feet, which is probably doesn't mean anything to you all, right? But he thinks it's about this deep, okay? And it turns out, right, that it's not 18 inches deep. It's more like 18 feet deep, right? 6 meters or so, something around there. No, I said the reverse. He thought it was 18 meters. Sorry, I'm trying to do the metric in conversion. Clearly, it's not working. He thought it was really deep. It turned out not to be deep. Okay, it turned out to be very shallow. Let's stick with that. All right. And so what that means is, I mean, you can imagine what happened, right? He dove in. It was dark, right? And he instantly snapped his spinal cord. Okay, he became instantly paraplegic. He had great medical care, right? He was life-flighted out of there, and he survived, gratefully, right? But he was paraplegic. His life changed dramatically, right? His dreams of becoming a professional athlete were over. So you fast forward a few years, and he's back in college in Iowa, right, trying to finish his degree. And that was the beginning of the Obama campaign in 2008, right? So I don't know if you guys remember when Obama was first running for president. And they were recruiting him to become an organizer, right? And so Alex says, this is crazy. Like, you guys can't recruit me to be an organizer. Like, I can't do any of the things that organizers do, right? I can't knock on doors. I can't dial phone numbers, right? I can't even get paper off the printer in order to get my walk sheet, right? So there's no way that I can be an organizer. And they say, right, they don't use the terminology that I'm about to use for you, but like I'm imagining that they did, right? They say, you're thinking of a traditional campaign where all they do is they mobilize, right, in transactional ways, where they're just trying to hit the numbers of as much voter contact as possible. Right? And what we want you to do is, it's not that we want you to make all the voter contact, to knock on doors, to walk neighborhoods and things like that. Instead, your job is to develop leaders, right? Because we believe that by developing leaders, right, by transforming people, that's how we're going to be able to build the power that we need, right? And so the difference between what Alex thought he was going to do and what he ended up doing on the Obama campaign, that's the difference between mobilizing and organizing, right? And we can apply, I know that example is from, an election campaign, but we can apply that to lots of different kind of movements, both within unions and outside unions. So one way to think about the difference between mobilizing and organizing is, if you imagine in any organization there's an activist ladder, right? And we want people to sort of, some people might say like, hey, I support unions, like put me on your list and I'll get your emails every now and then if you ask me to make a call to my MP, like I'll do that, right? But I don't really want to do anything else or anything more than that, right? And at the top of the ladder, you have people who are the leaders in your movement, right? The difference between mobilizers and organizers is mobilizers let people self-select into wherever they want to be on that ladder, right? So however you come in the door, they'll create an opportunity for you to take action on that front, all right? Organizers, wherever you come in that door, they're trying to push you to do more, right? They're trying to constantly push you to do more. And the way they push you to do more is by cultivating your agency, your sense of your own power, right? Martin Luther King famously defined agency as your ability to achieve purpose, right? And what organizers are doing is constantly trying to help people realize and achieve their purpose in new ways. And the reason why this matters, or one of the reasons why it matters, is that the difference between mobilizing and organizing is also the difference between who you engage and how many people you're able to engage, right? So if we imagine that, I don't know if this analogy translates, but like there's a fruit tree, right? And there's a low-hanging fruit and the high-hanging fruit, right? Does that analogy translate? Okay. So the low-hanging fruit's the easiest fruit to get, right? And those are the people that already support the unions, right? They're the people who are already concerned about income inequality. They already are concerned about class warfare, the concentration of power, all these things, right? And all we have to do is match them with an opportunity to take action on the concerns that they already have, right? We need them on our side, okay? They're a really important part of the movement. But, right, in order to challenge power, we have to be able to demonstrate our ability not only to get the low-hanging fruit, but to get the medium and the high-hanging fruit, right? Because power is a relationship, right? It's a relationship between me and the target, right? And the extent to which I'm able to sort of move my target, whether it's management or government or whoever it is, right, depends on my ability to show that I have resources that they want, right? And if all I can show them is that that all I can do is get the people who are already on my side, it's usually not enough, right? And so to build the power that we need, we have to be able to sort of reach the middle and the high-hanging fruit, but that requires organizing, because transformation comes through the organizing. And so in doing this work and looking at the different organizations that were doing the mobilizing and the organizing, one of the things that I found that was really interesting is that the difference between mobilizing and organizing, it wasn't just semantic, right? It wasn't just words that people used, but they were fundamentally different in terms of how they structured themselves and the ways they built narratives about their movement, right? And the ways that they developed strategy and the kind of ask that they made of people. And so I know I'm running out of time, so I don't want to get into all the details of that now, but I'll just plug that Teresa and I are doing a workshop right after this that's going to get more into the nuts and bolts of what the differences between mobilizing and organizing are. But what was really interesting to me, the point that I want to make before I leave this, is the idea that the organizations that were the most powerful were not the organizations that did just organizing or just mobilizing. Okay, the organizations that were the most powerful were the ones that did both. Right? And the reason why you do both is because mobilizing gives you breadth, right? It gives you the scale that you need because you're able to reach a lot more people a lot more quickly than you can otherwise. But organizing gives you depth, right? Organizing is the leadership core through which you're going to build the scale, right, and the breadth that you need. And so the organizations that were the most powerful were the ones that were able to do both, right? It's not easy to do both, but they're the ones that are able to build the most power. And the point that I want to make is that, we are the answer that we need, but don't leave your power on the table, right? And if you're not engaging people in the transformative ways that we know works, then we're leaving our power on the table, and we can't afford to do that anymore. So thank you.